What is up, YouTube? I have Will Scouching from Will Scouching Live, and he does incredible things on multiple platforms. So I'm going to link them all in the description, like X, YouTube, like TikTok. I've seen him on, so definitely check him out over there. But how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's the off season, so I started warming up in the golf simulator a couple of weeks ago, getting ready to hit the links at some point this summer, and but I mean the work doesn't end. It's been busy doing draft recap stuff for YouTube. We're gonna be doing more stuff on the channel by the end of the off season, so we're gonna have lots coming out between now and the end of the year, or the end of the off season, I should say. Yeah, I mean, honestly, just like a nice difference of pace, right? I'm covering the Select 17s tournament for USA Hockey over the last week or so. Hopefully, wrapping that up in the next couple of days, and that'll be on Puck Prep. So, keeping busy. It's different, but it's definitely nice to be able to change gears a little bit and get away from the computer screen and the spreadsheets a little bit, and you know, do it the old-fashioned way and take the foot off the gas pedal a little bit.
So, are you going to the World Junior Summer Showcase?
No, I don't plan on it. I usually don't make it out to those. I don't know. I just it's not a huge priority for me. The summer like the World Junior Summer Showcases, like it's I don't know. I mean, it's sometimes an interesting thing, but I'd never had the like draw to go down to the US and go to it.
It's always cool to see how these prospects perform right after they get drafted. Feel like, a huge boulder like or weight comes off of their shoulder after having to go through all that wild draft process.
Oh
And
yeah.
in any draft, I feel like it's weird, but just think like 17, 18-year-old kids in the NFL, it's 22, 23, 24-year-olds. I just feel like it's way different.
Oh yeah, it's way different. Like I can't even imagine, right? Like I mean I feel like I remember being 16 and 17 pretty well. And I mean I'm 34. I turned 35 in a week, so like that's a long time ago, but I can't even begin to imagine like how your life changes. It's a pretty incredible. I mean, I don't know any other business in the world that does it like that, where you can be a teenager, even a young adult, right? Like, and just be uprooted, and it's like there's a before and after, right? Like I don't know so much if it's like a weight off your shoulders, but it's like the weight gets replaced with something different, and it's like your life just changes. And I think, to get into the hockey stuff right away, like I think that's a big handling that transition, it can be a big benchmark of like where you go and how you develop as a player, right? Like, because I mean, in my opinion, like psychological stuff matters a ton, and like adapting to the expectations of like the working out, the lifestyle changes, the eating habits, like the amount that eating can have even on a
Hmm.
career at that level is so big, and there's more and more research that comes out that reinforces that. And even in my personal experience, like I notice a difference when based on what I eat and do physical activity, right? Like it just makes such a big difference that adapting to that and being able to stick to that right away from this age, like because your trainability is never better than when you're at this age. So that's like a huge thing. And so it's always fascinating, in my opinion, to watch or to track that happen. And if I were one of those players, like that would be a big hurdle, I think, to like get over and adapt to because yeah, like again, the NHL is way up there
Yeah.
and it's hard and you got to stick. Like sticking in the NHL is the hard part and there's a lot that goes into that. So hopefully you learn that now.
Like you're still in high school. I mean, Mason West was a junior in high school. Didn't even know
Mhm.
that it was his draft year because he was a junior. This is out publicly now. I'm not breaking any news, but like now he's a senior going to play ho football and hockey at Fargo. And the thing is, like, I just turned 27 4 days ago. I was playing badminton and I pulled my back and had to go to the ER. Like, it's totally different. I have no idea how it happened. But like I was going way too hard probably, and then I just hula hooped and beat my cousin in basketball 100-8. I mean, I was just on it. But
Yeah.
like then you're put into a position at 17, 18 years old where you're a face of a franchise. Like look at Matthew Schaefer. Like he is 17 years old, 18 years old, and he is now the face of the New York Islanders
Yep.
franchise at this point. So I was going to college, university, trying to get internships. Like I did not want to be, or I probably did with my head at that spot. Like, oh, I could be a face of a franchise in my head, like when I'm playing shell. But when it's real, it's like, oh my God, you gotta all this media. Like I got to interview him. Like, what am I doing interviewing Matthew Schaefer? There's no reason, but it's just like it's
Yeah.
funny. So there's just so much that comes into it, especially with the hockey, that this is the first year where I'm actually seeing that a little more. And everybody's humans. So I wanted to talk
Yeah.
to you about like just the draft overall, the experience,
hmm
watching it decentralized, you know, as well as now next year's going to be decentralized. But do you think that that's the right decision to do another decentralized and run it back?
I mean, like a lot of things in life, it's a trade-off, right? Like there are benefits to both, there are issues with both. I totally understand the perspective from teams on as to why they would want to do it decentralized, especially in this day and age, right? Where, yeah, when you're on the floor with all the other teams, it's a cool spectacle, it's a unique thing. No one else does it like that and whatever. But you do have a sense that there is an advantage to privacy, and there is an advantage to isolation when you want to talk shop, negotiate, do all these things. So I get it. And you can just pick up the phone, right? You can send a text, like it's possible to communicate with people and you don't have to be in the room with them. Is it as much fun for like the viewer? No, it's not. And I mean, look, I think I'm of the belief that the NHL, the thing that I am legitimately a little upset about is that the NHL had something incredibly cool with Sphere in Las Vegas, and they're turning their back on it. I mean, it seems like they're turning their back on that out of fear of how much it costs to rent the place for the weekend or whatever. Like, but I mean, it was the center of the universe marketing wise for a while with how cool that event was, and there's tons of room for tons of fans. You could have tons of room on the floor for tons of players and their families. You could have a stage, you could do it decentralized. It's possible. And so I hope that that's the plan and that's a nice compromise before they sort of try something like what they did in LA. Because, I mean, you were there, but I was a viewer and it was bad. Like it was bad. That experience, and it's not the process. Like the process itself, I couldn't care less, right? You want to have Gary Bettman go up and whatever, like I get it, right? Have a celebrity announce all the picks, fine. But I can't tell you the last time that I sat down. I don't think there's a human being. Like, what do you think the percentage of human beings there are out there that sat and watched one production thing that had one start at the beginning and one end at the end, and it was 4.5 hours long? Like a theater production, a movie, like The Brutalist wasn't even that long. And so it's like, how do you expect fans to get excited about that process, right? Like everybody loves a celebrity, but the speeches they were giving were ridiculous. The interviews that they were doing with the teams after they got picked, it's like you're not going to get good content out of that. You're not. It's not. You're not. So anyway, in my view, like it's a trade-off. I think it's a fine idea to go decentralized. It's functional and it could work, but I just would hate for it to just be like every other sports draft process. Because the other thing too is like comparing it to say the NBA, right? It seemed like they wanted it to be more like the NBA draft. I mean, the players just aren't often as charismatic as they could be or should be for a product like that to like be player focused and have it come off as good as the NBA draft does. And the NBA draft is way quicker. So to me, I think the NHL had something really cool with a cool setting in a really cool location, really fun place to be. Not that LA isn't, and had the center of the sports world for a while, which the NHL so desperately needs, that to go away from that in favor of like some theater in Columbus next year or something, or Philadelphia, like I'm sure it would be nice, but not the way I would do it. Like I'd rather just go big and fun and crazy and just spend the money. And you're a collection of billionaires. You'll figure it out. You'll
Yeah.
probably make that money back in your own endeavors in a month, right? So anyway, it's an interesting thought, but it definitely wasn't the decentralized thing I didn't like. It was the production, and it was the whole show. That was what was rough as a viewer for sure.
Stephen Ellis had a great idea where they should do it on a cruise ship on the moon, like for Decentralized. I really liked that. Just obviously he's joking, and I think they did one on a boat once, Russ Cohen said, but
Mm,
it would kind of be cooler. But for media, from like me personally, I feel like it was the best case scenario because you got a draft pick taking 7, 8 minutes long. But then they put him to the third floor at the draft at the Peacock Center, and you could interview the prospects. So I could interview three prospects and come out and still make it for the Ben Kindle selection. It was really nice that way, but I never actually watched the production
right.
of it. So I heard a lot of bad things, but at the same time, like I think even The Godfather had an intermission, and that was in like
Right.
1970s. So
Yeah.
I feel like that, like what you were saying with the production, Avatar was 3 hours long. It didn't go 4.5, 5 hours.
Right.
It might have actually teetered 6 hours on the second day. I have no idea. It was like a blur, but it felt a lot longer than the first day. Maybe it was just like what
It
was
was a
going
little
on.
longer. I think day two was
Yeah.
5.5 hours or something like that. Like
Hmm.
I remember when we streamed the whole thing and we had 10 hours when we were done. So it was 10 hours to get through those picks. And I don't know, like to me, I understand the media aspect of it, right? Like the media needs to do the interviews that they need to do. And I get that. I just can't make it make sense to me of like that. I mean, again, it's like, is the NHL's priority the media or the fans, right? Like
Yeah.
because I don't think you can have both in the way that you want it to be if you're a media member. Like obviously you would love to be able to interview a guy, take your time, go back and not miss a pick. But I just don't think that's feasibly possible when the number of people watching it dwarfs the media members, right? Like it's I don't know, like it's just another thing to me where the fan experience for NHL fans is just so lackluster. Like it's just so almost cool and they have so much potential and then they just find ways to just like disappoint you. You know, it's like, "Oh, we're going to try this new idea." Okay, great. We're going to
Hmm.
have celebrities announce the picks. Great. Why are they talking for 5 minutes? Like what are we doing, right? Like it's that kind of like drags things down a lot. And so it's fixable, right? Like I liked the idea of it. It's an interesting thought, but I definitely would love for them to find a way to hybridize the experience of the original format while keeping the more modern team-oriented thing where it's kind of a blend of both. Again, I just keep going back to the experience I had in Vegas was one of the best few days I've had in hockey. Like it was so fun, and it was so different and so interesting. And the Sphere, like being in Sphere, it's different. Like there's nowhere else like it on the planet that I've ever been in my life. Like when they opened the show and the whole Sphere inside froze up and then the ice shattered and all the team logos were there and it was like this whole immersive experience. I've never heard like gasps at a hockey event before and there were people like gasping. Like it was so cool. So for them to not just do that, sign a 10-year lease, right, for a weekend once a year and just try it and just
Hmm.
have some fun. Like it would be so much fun. When Scotiabank buys the rights to naming the arena in Toronto for $400 million over 20 years and it costs $2 million to rent Sphere for a weekend and you say no to Sphere for a weekend for the draft, like that to me seems like nonsense, right? So I don't know. At the end of the day, like it is what it is. It was a rough night. It was long, especially having to cover it on camera. That was long. But we had a lot of fun, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I brought out the magic cards. It got a little unhinged. We had to pass the time somehow. But
Yeah.
no, it was good though. The whole draft itself though, it was really interesting, and it's what we do all the work for all year long, right? So hopefully they find a way to find middle ground for next year.
I hope that they go back to the Sphere. I want to go so badly. Everybody was
Yes.
talking about the Sphere because it was last year, so everybody was talking about it.
Mhm.
Because Nashville, I guess, was really cool too. What
It was
happened
all right,
after
yeah.
the parties, just like I feel like that was kind of cool. But let me ask you about your best moments during the draft. I know that there was a couple, Aiden Park, the LA kid that was wearing
Yeah,
Crocs, like that was
yeah.
cool. Like, what was your favorite moments?
Oh man. I mean, it's hard not to be selfish, right? Like it's hard not to be selfish here because like I get the Aiden Park thing. Like I remember when he got picked, I was on camera and I was like, I, I mean, I think he said he wasn't expecting to get drafted,
Mhm.
but I had a feeling he might going into the draft just based on what I was talking to people about and what people were chatting about and everything. And so it's just so funny to see a guy show up and get drafted in a hoodie and Crocs and like
Yeah.
that's another thing too is like I kind of would love that too, right? Like slob draft, like totally be cool with a kid wearing like a Supreme hoodie or something incredibly stupid and silly
Yeah.
and just, again, like suits are cool, custom suits, cool. There was a player, I can't remember who it was. One player in the first round, their suit pants were way too short. I forget who it was. Someone, I might have to go back and look, but someone had suit pants, and all three of us on the show were like, we might be old, but those pants are way too short. Those are cargo shorts, but in suit form, and that is just not acceptable. That's not acceptable. We need to find again a middle ground between the baggy suits of the 2000s and the really really tight, small, short suits of the 2020s. Like we need to figure out a middle ground there. But I mean, I found a lot of moments were really really good in the draft for my own personal. Like I don't think anyone else would have found him really cool. Like guys in this on day two, like seeing a guy like Richard Gallant get drafted by San Jose, one of the last picks in the draft. Like I loved that kid all year, and so he deserved a shot. And to see so many, I think it was something like 40% of all 6'3" and over players in the CHL, USHL, and the Swedish Junior League got drafted this year that were draft eligible. And like 13% of guys under 5'11" in the same cohort got drafted. So a guy like Richard Gallant getting a draft pick when all the guys going off the board were just big, long-term project guys. It was really, really nice because he's a fun player to watch and one of my favorites on the NTDP for sure. Toronto drafting Tinus Koblar at 60 or 64, whatever it was. That's a guy that I don't think anybody else really paid much attention to except for me. And to see a team like Toronto go for him was very bizarre, but kind of awesome. Like that's a guy who even me who saw him a lot, I went, whoa, like I had him ranked 50, but like drafting him that early, like the other teams must have thought something of him too, but that's a good player and like that guy could be really something. I mean, for again, being selfish, the Ben Kindle pick for Pittsburgh, I called it on camera as it was happening. Like I said, if I'm Pittsburgh and I'm Kyle Dubas and I'm Wes Clark, I could very easily see them going in a direction of a Kindle there, and it happened. And of course, Penguins fans have lost their minds in the time since. Like I made a TikTok actually isolating the recap of the Ben Kindle pick that I made, and all the comments are just like, yeah, but what about this guy? What about this guy? What about this guy? And it's like you got to be patient with a guy like Kindle, but he could turn out to be really special, like really impressive hockey player. And there were definitely things about his game that I would say were top five, maybe better in the draft class as a whole. Like some of the things he did where you're just like efficiency, I would say. Like he might be one of the most efficient players in the draft that isn't named Michael Misa, and it was incredible to watch him this year. So there's a lot of moments where I just sort of sat back and went, "Oh, that's nice, oh, okay." Like or this team, Philadelphia, for example, picking guys like Carter Amico and Shane Vinsagi. It's like I see what you're doing there. I see what you're trying to get at, and those are Flyers guys. Those are guys that Flyers fans and Philadelphia people, based on what I know of them, will really, really like. So to see those kinds of things happen were definitely really, really interesting. Honestly, with regards to the broadcast itself, I was more focused on other things rather than the broadcast, to be honest, to pick up on like, oh, this was this moment where this happened. Like we also the way that we had the show structured, we couldn't listen to the audio from the broadcast, so we didn't hear anything. So
Gotcha.
that made things a little more complicated. Otherwise, we would have gotten copyright striked and removed from the internet, which would have been bad. So in any case, It was fun though. Like it was really fun to see how things shake out. Honestly, that's half the reason I do all this. It's just to see how things go at the end of the day. And I always feel like I'm prepared and stuff always surprises me. So that's half the fun.
I thought it was really interesting when the Penguins picked Kindle because I was at the Lacombe Center in Buffalo for the combine, and I had an interview with Kindle coming up, and Kyle Dubas had just said, "Hey, what's up?" Like, I think he was probably saying hi to everybody, but I was like, "Oh my
Mhm.
God." And because I was just in the corner looking like I was like sweating because it was my first NHL event, and I was just
Yeah.
like seeing everybody in there, like Matthew Schaefer had just gone up to Kyle Dubas, and the whole team was there. And then I had Kindle there, and Kyle Dubas was obviously like a couple seats down, and I had no inclination that they were ever even looking at this guy or anything like
Mm,
that. But it was just, I'll never forget that. I mean, they were just same place, and I wonder if they stayed a little longer just to try to get some of the answers. But I
right.
mean, it was just like a fun interview. He was great. I don't know if he necessarily thought that they had interest or whatever it was, but when they got that 11th and then the 12th pick, I feel like that was when they were like, maybe they were going to be like, we're taking Kindle regardless. And then they
Yeah.
obviously traded to 22 and 31, which I thought was a really good trade because Flyers wanted a guy like Nesbitt, who everybody kind of talked bad about again
Hmm.
after that pick. So it was back to back. But then you see like Lyndon Lakovic go 27. So just like what was some surprises and some like fallers, risers and fallers that you had and
Yeah.
you were like, wow, that was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely I'm a little bit well known for a bit of hot takery here and there. I come to my conclusions genuinely and I stand by them and everything. So when someone like Jack Nesbitt goes 12th or whatever it was, like I vehemently disagree with the logic, but it's one of those things where you can look at it and go, yeah, but he's 6'5" and 170 pounds, and he was really terrible last year, and he was decent this year. So what if that keeps happening, and what happens when he fills out? And at that point, I just go, okay, you're projecting into the future something that is not there, and you're saying no to guys that are already doing some of the things that you're hoping that a guy like Nesbitt could do right now, right? Like Carter Bear going one pick after, right? Carter Bear is not a center, but he has that physical edge. He has that intensity. There's a skill level there that I think clears a Jack Nesbitt. So is it the value of having a center like that? Well, okay, but you have like a billion draft picks, right? Like
Mhm.
could you have like Will Horkoff was a guy that went with one of the picks Pittsburgh took. Like I had Horkoff ranked. I did not have Nesbitt ranked. Like I found Horkoff to be maybe where a guy like Nesbitt might be next year. Like that kind of vibe. So that one surprised me. I mean, Pyotr Andrianov being the first goalie off the board and going top 20, I
Yeah.
thought that was awesome. Like that was like ride a flaming motorcycle into the pits of Valhalla style like craziness. Like that I love that pick because immediately again people are like, well, he's not coming, he just signed a contract until 2030 and yada yada yada. And I'm going, have you looked at a calendar? Like we're almost at 2030. Like we're
Yeah,
we're not that
that's
far
true.
away from 2030. Like he's going to be 22, 23 when that contract is over. And he's probably going to, like, the whole logic there is Russian guys don't want to play in the AHL because why would you? Would you rather play in the capital of your home country in Moscow, playing for one of the wealthiest, most powerful teams in the country, playing in front of passionate, crazy fans, or do you want to go to Cleveland? No offense to Cleveland, but like I would much, much, much rather play if I'm Russian in Moscow, in a gigantic city, huge market, probably making decent money, rubles, whatever, instead of coming over to Cleveland and going, you know what, if I'm ever going to come over, it's going to be straight into Columbus. And if 2030 is when it happens, then 2030 is when it happens. And I don't think at that point you'll care. That's 4 years, 4 seasons down the road. That'll go quick, I think. It'll go real quick. But I
That's
love it.
what
I mean, I
goalies usually
love
take.
exactly. And I love Andrianov anyway. Like I think he's great. I think he's got huge, huge, huge upside as he is now. Really great overall metrics across the board. Like just a really good goaltender. Um, there were like, I mean, Lakovic going after a guy like Václav Nestrasil was a little interesting. Like Nestrasil's a guy where I looked at him and I saw maybe in a year or two what Lakovic is now. Like that's kind of how I look back on those two guys, and I just don't really. The only logic I can really see is that Nestor has a bit of a physical side to him, and a bit of a nasty sort of competitive edge to him. And every time I hear him speak, he kind of comes off a little bit that way. Whereas Lakovic is more of a like we've met him, and I love Lyndon Lakovic. Like he was in my top 10. Like I think he's just the best. And because I think he is a really good example of a really modern hockey player. Like I could see how a guy like Spencer Carberry, who is a very modern thinking, let's really squeeze this team for what they are and get the best out of them, in a smart tactical way, which is how I think the Washington Capitals had success this year. I think that he would look at a guy like Lyndon Lakovic and go, okay, yeah, he might not throw as many hits as a guy like Horkoff or Zonin or whatever or Aitchison or whoever, but what he does do, it doesn't make a difference. Like the other stuff makes a huge difference, and the stuff that everybody's worried about, like we're more concerned about how he carries the puck, how he passes the puck, how he sees the game, how he scores, how he works off of other guys, how well he did on a team that where he didn't have much to play with. And so for me, like that, it was a bit of a surprise to see him go that late. But considering what teams were looking to value, I mean, I suppose I see the logic. Their teams are obsessed with drafting hard forechecking, heavy, intense guys, and that's just the way that it is. And I guess that, like if you believe that you can't really coach that kind of a mentality into a player, then that's your belief. But I look at the team like Florida that everybody wants to be. They're full of guys who, when they were 17, 18 years old, were not known to be the most physically intense guys. I don't remember anybody saying that about Sam Bennett, Sam Reinhart, Aaron Ekblad, even, Gustav Forsling. Like nobody was typecasting those players as those types of players, right? So, I mean, other than that, though, like, not much really like surprised me. A lot of big defensemen went pretty early in the second round. I mean, Charlie Serrato being the first re-entry was not on my bingo card, but I like the idea. Alexander Zhuravsky being a guy that Montreal traded up to get was also, again, like riding that flaming motorcycle style of thing. Like, just we love this kid, and we'll if we get a first round pick-esque player with him, which I think maybe there is, then great. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of fun stuff. There was, it was chocked full of really, really fun stuff. Like again, Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh had a great weekend. And I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Will Horkoff, but when you've got Kindle and Zonin off the board in beyond 10th overall, like those are two guys that I had really high. And then beyond that, I think they did a good job taking some interesting swings on some guys that I've liked over the year. Yeah, so yeah, it was interesting. Not a whole lot like blew my mind, I would say, in terms of how I think NHL teams think. But there was a lot going on that it will be very, very curious to look back on this draft class, to say the least, I think, in 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, that was great. There's a lot there. First of all, Penguins taking Charlie Trethewey. I love that. He's a fan of the team, grew up watching them, so that was really cool. Jack Nesbitt. I thought that what the Flyers did in the second round, getting Van
Mm,
Soggy, Carter Amico, Jack Murtagh, and somebody that I really like, Matthew Guard late, was a really great value. And you got a second round pick turned into Trevor Zegras. So they got like potentially five NHL players with their second round picks this year. Obviously, that is only on paper, but I see all of those guys as a little higher. And then you have I really did like what the Capitals did, getting 27 Lakovic and then Milton Gastrin, because I like both of those
yeah,
players, and I talked to both of those players, and I really liked Lakovic this year because Lakovic is a hockey nerd, and also I
yeah,
was asking him like if you would be after a long successful NHL career, would you rather be a head coach or GM? He said GM of the Leafs. He would trade one of the core four. He would do this and that. He would extract some money from the
yeah,
Tavares contract and then spend it this way. And I was just like, wow. He also said that I asked him the biggest chirp he's ever heard, and he's like his teammates chirp him for having hairy legs, and it was just like really
that sounds
great.
about
He's
right.
To be honest, he's like a superstar mindset. Like I love talking to the kid because he actually is like I feel that he will be he's like a 5'10 forward and a 6'4 body.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
obviously he's not going to use his body like a 6'4 player. He's just very soft skilled, very raw. But I know you said Moose Jaw had a tough season, but when they got Savoy last year, then they won the
yeah,
championship. I mean, they look like a completely different team. Now they're retooling, rebuilding. Obviously, he might be out at the trade deadline or whatever it is. But I really did like that. When the Blackhawks were up at 25, I was sitting next to Ezra, the broadcaster Muskegon, and we wanted Vaslov there. But the only other player I kept mumbling was Linden Lakovic, because there was just so much value on the board. Just like I can't believe it. And also, I want to say Malcolm Spence going to 43. Did not
mm,
really understand, or 42. I didn't understand that. Um, and yeah, and Zarovsky, the Habs, I was sitting next to Marco D'Amico. He
yeah,
turned to me and he said the Habs actually wanted him at 17. I was like, no
yeah,
way. They're just saying that. But best puck handler in the entire draft, like close enough, maybe top three, whatever it is. Very good player, has a ton of upside. But taking him at 17 would have been a heavy risk. So, uh,
yeah,
yeah, I'm glad it was
yeah.
34.
I mean, look, I think there is an argument to be had that Jarobsky could have been a top 20 guy. The problem with Jarobsky, though, for me, I liked how he played in the KHL playoffs. He got a few games there, and I think he played pretty well, which kind of assured me of like, okay, if he's a second round pick or something, like high second round pick, I could understand the risk. But he played in the worst conference, in the worst division in that conference, and in Russian junior hockey, like I just remember watching him, and when I put my report together on him, which went turbo after the draft, because I guess Habs fans are crazy, which
Yeah.
shocker. But like I remember watching back to all the clips that I've pulled of him. Like he was a guy who caught my eye in October watching Agafonov, a guy I think Seattle took, and he stuck out, and I was like, "Who is this kid?" And I watched my clips back of him putting that video together, and I kind of went, "There's a lot going on here that I love, but God, I just don't know about against really good players. Like I just like he is elite, like elite AAA player playing shinny on a Friday afternoon, right? Like that is his game, and it's fun to watch. I think he could be a good player. I think he's got huge ceiling. I think a top 20 pick would have been an enormous risk, but I would have been all about it. I would have been like, you know what? If you believe in the kid that much, I think it could work out for you. You have, I don't know what the appropriate word would be, but you have more cojones than I do. But
Yeah.
that is a wild call, and I'm all about it. It would have been fun, but yeah, to get him in the second round where they got him and trading up and all that stuff, like I don't think it would have lasted much longer, and that was fun to watch for sure.
So the Blackhawks made a trade with the Hurricanes, and it's becoming a like every draft,
Yeah.
the Blackhawks are trading up to get into the Hurricane spot. But at 62, they took Ivan Ryabkin, which and then
Mm,
I thought that was really good value there. Obviously, Ryabkin could have won in the fourth round, and I probably wouldn't have been surprised, or a first round pick, and I wouldn't have been surprised.
yeah.
Just the range of where he was going to go. But can you talk to me about the Mason West trade and also the value of Ryabkin at 62? Would you have done it?
Yeah, I mean with Mason West, like I don't know. I think there's a lot of like I didn't think that his USHL games that I saw, which I was the only games I saw, I didn't think they were like, oh my God, this guy's a first round pick and should be picked like top 32, no question. Like I don't know. I track data on guys for a reason, and to me, he's a guy that I don't know. Like it sounds bad, but he looked like a player that wasn't sure if he was a hockey player or not. Like it's kind of hard to explain in like hockey terms, but there was just a level of engagement that kind of wasn't there. The skill level wasn't really there. The shot quality is good, and it can, work through traffic pretty well. But you're basically just drafting him because he's huge, and now he's going to focus on hockey once he's done with his football career, and then 5 years from now, that's what you're betting on, which fair enough, but again, like a risk like that in the first round is tough. I mean, I was a lot more open to the Jarowski talk we just had because I've seen the hockey product that he brings to the table, whereas West, I just haven't seen it personally. But who was the other one? Oh, Ryabkin. Yeah, so yeah, West I think is an interesting bet, but I would maybe have gone a different direction. But hey, I mean he's 6'5" or whatever, and pretty skilled and has a good shot, and there's maybe something there, but I don't know. Ryabkin, I mean, like I talked to people about this one after the draft was over because I was very surprised Carolina took him, but Carolina's priority, and this draft illustrates that to a T, I think. Their priority is value. They're thinking they're trying to count cards. That's what they're doing. And Ryabkin to them is that there is evidence on the table that Ryabkin was a top 10 quality player last year, right?
Mhm.
That's the thought that he was. And if he just had a terrible, terrible, no good, dirty, rotten season and recovers from that, then he's a worthwhile bet somewhere in the late first round, early second round, you know? Like if you look back on it and he turns out to be one of the top 10 best players in this draft, and you think that that's a possibility, at 62, that's a very valuable swing to take because who else are you going to take, right? Is there anyone else in the draft that you have any inkling of a possibility that he's going to be a top 10 guy? They had the same logic about Justin Poirier last year, who scored a ton of goals in the queue, and they're thinking it's like the fourth or fifth round. Who else are we going to draft that has a 1% chance of being a top six scorer in the NHL? Because we think he does, right? So they think about value, right? If at this specific pick, what are we getting, right? Kurban Limitov later on, he went later than he should. That's a good value pick. He's got talent, he's got size, he's got range, really rough around the edges. But who else were you going to pick that has those kinds of tools and that kind of a developmental trajectory and all that stuff? Not many players. And if there's a 10% chance he's a top four defenseman, are all the other defensemen at that point in the draft the same odds of being what you think that Limitov could be? Probably not, right? That's the value they're thinking of. So for me with Ryabkin, like personally, he's a guy where I had him on my watch list. Like I didn't have him ranked because number one, I didn't really like how he played at all this year with Muskegon. I thought he played a style of hockey that if I was on a team with him, it would annoy me. Like I get that there's competitiveness, but there's a level of competitiveness that is not like I just saw like Ryabkin's the type of guy who I saw him a few times this year get hit along the boards, lose the puck, slowly skate back after the guy that hits him, hack him in the shin, or trip him up in the neutral zone and head to the penalty box. And it's like I I don't personally, that's not my style of player, right? Like I don't like that, right? Like the frustration and the putting your team down a man type of frustration, right? Like that's where you kind of lose me. So yeah, I just didn't really like how he played honestly with Muskegon. So but again, like if you think that he just had a terrible, terrible season, obviously everybody knows he came into the combine weighing a lot more than people expected. There's a lot behind the scenes on Ryabkin that people are just really doubtful of, and that's what left him here. But like we talked about early in the show, right? Like, yeah, like there's a before and after period, right? If Ryabkin gets drafted here and had a season where he went from, hey, you're maybe going to be a top 10 pick to nobody wants anything to do with you and you almost were a third round draft pick, then maybe that's your come to Jesus moment, right? And that's why he was on my watch list, right? Like if he just completely flips things around and whatever his path is from here, if he turns out to be that top 10 guy that I think people saw last year, then all the more power to him, right? And all the more power to Carolina. But I don't know. Like for me, he was the third guy they drafted or something like that. So I guess it's a worthwhile bet as the third guy you pick. So
Mhm.
that's fair. I just feel like the odds of him, like there's just a lot there that needs to be unpacked, and I don't know. Maybe I'm overcorrecting, but it just he just kept falling and falling and falling for me because there was just more and more and more where I'm just like I don't know. I'm not seeing it here, right? So we'll see how it goes, but it's an interesting value proposition though, to say the least, and that's their focus for sure.
Yeah, that's why I said he could have won in the fourth round, like an Aaron Kuviharu, because like what we were hearing after the combine was not good. I liked
Hmm.
his tape. He didn't look like a Demidov or Michkov at any point, even though he's putting up some of those numbers. But kind of like Zarowski, he was playing in a league where he probably should have been dominating a little more. And then
Right.
going to the USHL, he was a point per game player and still fell. I think he was the fourth probably best player on his team. Maybe Radijevich was third or fourth, and then he was third. But Tynan Lawrence, who's a 2026 eligible,
Yep.
probably goes top five in my opinion. I know he's projected top 10, but I think that this guy's gonna, at the earliest, could go top five in my opinion. But this is just throwing names out of a hat for
Right.
that. But I really like his game. I watched a lot of Muskegon this year, and then Vaslav Nestrasil was like a fourth round pick, and then kind of went and just exploded. He had 0 points
Yeah.
in 8 games in the USHL. Kind of a Jack Nesbitt-esque, had a terrible season and then a good one. So
Yeah.
Ryabkin is a great play. If I was GM, I would kind of be picking how the Canes pick. Value, value, value. Every guy's an asset. I think that you need to just load up on the chips. And then it's a dart. It's like a horseshoe. It's just like throw as many times as you can or whatever. But I really do like what the Hurricanes do. Can you tell me a winner of the entire draft for you?
Ooh. I mean, I think of anybody with regards to like seeing things how I see things, like Pittsburgh is the easy answer. I think if if Pittsburgh had taken Bill Zonin where they took Kindle and got Kindle where they took Zonin, I would have been like, that's amazing. That is A plus value. Because I think the world of Bill Zonin, and again, like knowing what I know about Kyle Dubas and Wes Clark, that's a guy they're probably gonna really, really love. And and so for those two guys to go off the board 1-2 for them, I know it's not what fans wanted, but they are extremely talented players. I might have gone a different direction than Horkoff, but I really loved the guys they picked, right? Like, let me just pull up their list here. Like Quinn Beauchene was a guy that I loved this year. He was in my top 50. They picked him at like 150 or something like that. Treadaway, like you said, interesting bet. I like him too. He was ranked on my list. Peyton Kettles, also a guy that I thought was interesting. Again, I wouldn't have drafted him that high, but him and Treadaway have the advantage of youth. They're really, really young players, and I think they bring some interesting foundational traits. Obviously, Horkoff I did have ranked, but just not very high, and so getting him, I guess, like if you get a bottom six center there, and like all three of those guys played center this year from time to time, right? Zahn and Kindle and Horkoff. So who knows what they become.
Mhm.
And the rest of the guys they drafted, like Gabriel Daig, like obviously being a second overall pick in Quebec, like that's a big thing to live up to. The team in front of him just did not let him have a good year. Like I think that relative to what was expected of him, like I think that's an interesting bet. He was a guy who I didn't really give the time of day until I halfway through the season or so, and I was watching. I was like, well, maybe let's see what this guy's all about. You know, high end goaltender, whatever. Because he did not look very good at the Holinka. I thought he was really good in the games that I saw for Victoriaville, but it's hard to say because he just faced so much rubber. Brady Peddle, Travis Hayes, Jordan Sharon. I love Carter Sanderson. Like you were talking Muskegon earlier. Carter Sanderson was a guy that I actually forgot that I had written up in a puck preps report at the selects tournament last summer, where I'm going, this guy's kind of fun. Like he's not scoring. It was him and Matthew Lansing, where I'm like, these guys can kind
Mhm.
of go and these guys kind of move. Like this is kind of interesting. And so to see Carter Sanderson get picked, like again, that just seems like such a Kyle Dubas pick, right? He's not small, but he's rangy. He's up and down the ice quickly. He's got a pretty good release. He's super, super young and has all the makings of an interesting selection. And Ryan Miller's another interesting one. Like I see an interesting line of projectability for almost everybody they drafted, which for most teams this year, I can't say. And so for Pittsburgh, I think they did really well. I think the Islanders also did really well as well. Like your first four picks being, you also got Malcolm Spence, but your first four picks being Schaefer, Eklund, Aitchison, and Prokhorov, all of those guys again, like you can
Mhm.
make an argument as to how and what they'll do in the NHL, and all of those things are in some way valuable, right? So those, I mean, obviously getting the first overall pick makes it easy to be a winner usually, but I mean, in terms of like value and what I would have done, like Pittsburgh, I think really moved the needle well. I also really liked Calgary's first three picks. They took
Mhm.
Potter and Reshny and Stockselius, and I actually had someone in my DMs um, asking me like, why the hell would they draft Theo Stockselius that high, like a Flames fan? And I just was like, just relax, because he's got a lot of upside, right? Like the fact that he recovered is a cancer survivor, like that also is a huge intriguing thing, right? Where that takes a lot out of you, obviously, and especially when you're a kid. So, the upside there and the growth in his game this year and his youth, it's all really, really positive. Calgary just keeps knocking it out of the park, in my opinion. So those are some teams I think that all did really, really well.
So, uh, I want to talk about just 1 second because
Hmm.
we have to close it out. But I wanted to talk about Quinn Bouchane because there was a story that I just wanted to close it out with because I think it's hilarious. Every single like player I asked when I interviewed them, I asked them the weirdest pregame ritual, and about seven of the like I probably 7% of the people I asked because it was probably 7 out of 100 plus. It was who had the weirdest pregame ritual, and most of them said Quinn Bouchane because he does moon water. So he sets a glass of water
Mm,
outside and then lets moon shine on it, and
yep.
then he drinks it because he scored a goal the game before he did it. So I wanted to give a shout out to him because he won the best pregame ritual award of the entire year in my book. So
I
congratulations for that.
That's another one of those kids that every time I heard him open his mouth this year, I went, I love this guy. Like he
Yeah.
just like his personality and everything about him, I just love. And he's a good player too. Like I think that was something his billet mom did, and he tried it and it worked
Yep.
because he started the year really slow offensively. Like I think he had like a point after a month and a half or two in the year, and that was, I was thinking like, okay, like I went into the season thinking Beauchene was a fine player, a little, maybe a little boring and safe, but I didn't expect that. And then I watched him in detail around November or December, and I went, oh, okay, there's something here. And I really love what he brings to the game. I think down the stretch of the year, if you look at the percentage of team goals where he had a point, he was right up there with some of the best in the draft, right? Like in terms of offensive defensemen and generating offense past a certain point in this draft, I think it was actually immediately after he went to the prospects challenge where I thought he was really good. He went back to Guelph there, and from then onwards, I'm pretty sure he had just as much production in terms of team offense as any other offensive defenseman that was taken this year. So at least at the junior level. So that to me was very interesting, and I loved him. I think he's just a great personality to have around. And again, another one where I knowing what I know about Kyle Dubas, yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. I thought it was
Oh yeah.
awesome. Um, and maybe that's why he was scoring with the output he did. But I want to thank you so much for joining. Uh, this is your time like a Hot Ones video. Cameras here, here, and here. Tell everybody what you're working on, what you got going. Yeah, what you got going. It's the center camera that's you're
Okay,
focusing on.
the one right in front of me, because I have another
Yeah,
one on the floor, so I don't know if you want me to get on the floor and
that would
start
be
recording.
great.
And yeah.
The
um
foot cam, I love that.
yeah, the foot, yeah, that's
That's
my,
the
yeah, that's
premium.
coming next season to Scouching Live. We've got foot cam for next year. That's how we're driving engagement.
In the Patreon.
Uh yeah, yeah, yeah. But anyway, yeah. So we're still active on the channel, even though it's the off season. We're doing draft recaps once a day for every team. Columbus was today. We've done a bunch of them already. I've got to record some more, as this, I'll probably be done recording them by the end of the week, hopefully, because I'm over it. But no, we're doing videos there. We're going to be doing full pipeline recaps as well, going into August into September. Obviously, the show, we might do some off-season live shows here and there, but mostly we'll be back with the live shows Tuesday, Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, and Thursday afternoons, 2 p.m. Eastern, around September, maybe October. But yeah, I mean, you can follow my work as well at Puck Preps. I'm covering a bit of the select under 17 camp for USA Hockey there over the next little while. So my reports are coming probably end of the week. And yeah, other than that, check me out, scouching.ca. A subscription gets you all kinds of fun perks. We got a Discord server that's tons of fun. We're in the middle of our fantasy draft as we speak. I might even be on the clock. But anyway, yeah, so there's lots going on over there. You can check it out. We got a bunch of different tiers for different price points. And yeah, so subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, because we're trying to get to 10,000 and we're at 9650 or something like that. So hopefully end of the off season, it would be a nice way to start the new season. So go down there, and yeah, all the links should be in the description. And yeah, whatever you do, thank you very much.
Yeah, that is awesome. All the links will be in the description, and I'm on my way to 10 million subscribers, only 9.9 to go.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Get that diamond play
subscribe.
button, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. It was great to talk to you, dude.
Yeah, you too.